Hebsy man, we're live
Hey.
on your YouTube channel.
This is fantastic. We're in and no technical issues so far. None.
Listen, I'm on a Cal Ripken type streak here, so no, not yet.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Red Carpet Show, and we are in the same studio together. Myself and Toronto Mike in the Toronto Mike subterranean studio. Now, I've been here before. This year, I was in the backyard with you for two shows. One was a Hebsy on Sports. One was a Toronto Mike special media.
Sports Media Roundtable.
Sports Media Roundtable, yeah. So we did those in the backyard. When was that? August, September?
September, I think.
Yeah. And I was going to ride my bike here today. Should I tell the story on the podcast?
Save it for the podcast.
Save it for the podcast. Well, then what are the red carpet people getting out of this? Like, what are they actually getting?
What are they paying? So, they're getting what they paid for here. Hey, what I'm going to do is while you tell people what you had for breakfast, which was legitimately a question I got for Leo yesterday. What do you eat for breakfast? And he answered it. So yeah, people are curious. And so tell the world what, because I personally do a banana and a coffee, and that's my breakfast. Like, I'm not a breakfast guy. Oh, you got your banana right there.
Banana.
So, okay.
Got my water here, my Mio in it.
That's good.
The coffee thing, you know what? There was an incident a couple of years ago, actually, where I was on the bus and I had 3 coffees in the morning, and now I'm finished my writing and I jump on the bus, and about midway down the 110C at about the Queensway, I'm like, I gotta go.
Oh, you gotta wait.
I gotta go, man. How much further to Mike's house? Anyway, I come busting in the front door here, and I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And so I learned my lesson not to drink too much coffee in the morning if I'm going to get on public transit, or I was going to bike here this morning. My original thought was to bike here. And then when I got out this morning and it was so cold, I'm like, I don't know about that. So I switched my gears and I took the subway and that. But yeah, it was, so I have 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and it's an espresso. So it's only about
it's tiny.
Yeah. It's like 4 ounces or whatever it is.
Right.
But it's not like a full cup of coffee. And that helps. That definitely helps, especially at my age. So
is that an age thing? I got to ask you, because
I don't know.
I will say this: as I get older, and I'm a titch younger than you, but as I get older,
titch.
Like, I used to be able to sleep through the night without having to take a leave.
Oh, no. And how old are you?
47.
Yeah, no, that's about right. Usually about your mid-40s is like, wait a minute, I can't sleep the whole night, unless you were drinking the night before or whatever, or you just drink a lot of liquid in the evenings.
Right.
But the getting up once a night has become but see, what happens is once you reach a certain age, for most people anyway, you're getting up more than once a night. That's when it becomes like, oh man, like you're up at 2:30 and then you're up again at 4:30 or something, stuff like that.
Right.
But anyway, so just a word to the wise. If you're out in public transit, first of all, check out which stations have bathrooms. Like Kipling Station.
I think Islington has a bathroom.
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
trust me, I know these things.
All right, you would know.
Usually at the end of the line, like the Young and Bluer does, but usually at the end of the line. But you got to check those out in advance, because sometimes it's like when you got to go, you got to go. You know what I'm saying? Not that has anything to do with today's show. It really doesn't at all.
But the red carpet people deserve this kind of.
You should know that my bladder is empty and I'm ready to do a show. Now, should I tweet out here?
Well, I'm actually tweeting at you, so you have something to tweet out.
All right, wonderful. How about this Edward Rogers story, eh?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
It's like Succession here. We'll talk about that.
Holy cow! So you tweeted something?
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, you're doing it right now. Oh. Yeah. How about that's a wild story. We got to get into that story. That's just he's been ousted from the board, but the way
the butt dialing,
the way they found out. Like these executives, okay? And not only that, executives at a telecom company should know more than anyone else. If the possibility of a butt dial or anything, if there's any chance that this information gets out, these yutzes are like, yeah, what do you want to do when we oust Natali? And he's listening. Joe Natali, is the CEO, is listening to this going, oh my God, they're planning a coup against me. Right? He found out. It wasn't like it's not like he had the the intelligence community out there finding out, give me some intel on what's going on at the board. They butt dial him.
Okay, now you have a tweet to retweet, but while you do that, I'll tell you there's early feedback on your YouTube channel that you sound great.
Well, yeah.
So Mike Kerr, Al Grego.
Of course they sound great. Look what I got here. I got a beautiful. What do we got?
I love the Gene Velitis here comment. He says, "Good morning, guys. What's this? Is it Prostate Friday on the TTC?" Jesse and Jean would never actually. That would be something they might do. Actually, to Prostate Friday.
That's a good one.
Jesse and Jean.
I want to write.
I saw. So Greg Brady, your dear friend, was. I don't know. He was out with Adam Wilde yesterday.
Yes,
having
the
brunch.
morning man.
Right.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I saw a tweet from Gene to the guys about how basically our 640 numbers will never be beat or whatever. And it was sort of like a peacock move of come at me, Brady. This is what we did back in the day on 640. Good luck. I thought it was quite the
oh, it's a good
quite
one. But,
the
challenge. I think most people would like to think that everybody's friendly and whatever, but there's good rivalry going on there, man. And listen, if you're a morning show host and you're with another morning show host, what kind of numbers do you have in this age range? How you doing? 25 to 44. Oh, we beat you 25 to 54 males. Yeah, but we've got you 18 to 34 females. Wow, wow, wow.
Right.
All that kind of stuff. But listen, I think it's great. I love it.
I know. So good luck. It's like Greg Brady is competing against the ghost of Jesse and Jean on 640. But remember, 640 took their 680. They had a big 680 audience. 680 went all news and turfed all the top 40 guys or whatever. And they basically went straight from 680 to 640. So that whole audience, Jesse and Jean on 680, which was a big show, just moved, 40 spots. 40 spots to the left.
Well, that's what they were hoping when Don Collins hired Dean Blundell to do mornings.
Yeah, but at least that's a different band.
No, but I mean, they're saying oh yeah, all these listeners that he has, this whatever 8 share that he's got, they're all going to come over here. Who was thinking
They'll come over there looking, where's our Green Day?
Exactly.
You're not playing enough Green Day.
Exactly. But listen, you folks know what you got here. You know what you're getting on this particular show. There's no we're not beating around the bush or anything. And I don't have any friends that I have to worry about, I don't know, saying the right thing or not, not pissing somebody off. Or,
like Peter Sherman. I know you're friends with Peter Sherman. He's coming over at 11 o'clock today. He's coming over, but he got himself basically turfed as the fill-in. He didn't even have forget Greg Brady's got a permanent full-time gig over there. Sherman was the fill-in guy, and he got turfed because of an incident on the air.
Yes. With
a woman named Farah Khan.
Yep. Happens, man.
You can't get turfed from Hebsy on Sports,
can you? Tell you something. I had, when I was doing talk shows back in the 80s, right? Live phone-in shows. Yeah. Man, are you kidding? If I didn't like what a guest was saying or what someone was saying, I hang up on them or whatever.
But it depends you wouldn't have done that if they were talking about a woman being sexually assaulted. It depends on you were doing it because they were talking about how the Yankees sucked or Yankees were great. You were hanging up on sports talk.
Oh, you'd be surped.
You'd be surprised.
Well, you'd be surprised some of the issues we got into. Okay. Right? Because you're
prostate issues.
Even though you're dealing with sports talk, there's a lot of personal, if you don't like somebody or someone doesn't like somebody, you want someone fired, or you want someone replaced, or you think someone is doing something that's illegal or immoral, or I remember doing the stories of Steve Howe of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who was suspended 7 times by Major League Baseball for cocaine. 7 times. And I remember going, how many chances does this dude get? Right? And what's going on? And who does he know in the commissioner's office, or what's going on? And there's player grievances, and you can't do that. And the player association gets involved, and the most you can find somebody is $500, and all this nonsense. Anyways,
this was probably our best red carpet show ever.
All right, well, thanks everybody. That's it. We're done.
But just before I press record here, Moose Grumpy says it sounds better this week. Well, of course it sounds better. Our mic wasn't working last week.
Well,
was it last week?
It was. But you know what's funny is
we'll talk about
last week's show. The numbers were like the best numbers we've had, and I think some of it is people tuning in to go, what does he sound like there? Right. But then after a couple of minutes, you
adapt to it.
Yeah, of course. You're like, all right.
I adapted to it.
See, here's the other thing: we're used to hearing and seeing not 100% quality, especially in the day and age of the internet.
Right.
It's great. So when you do hear fabulous quality, you're blown away, because I just think that our level of expectation when it comes to podcasts or whatever isn't what it used to be. You can, there's some podcasts.
You're right,
you can't. Right. It's terrible. But if the content is good, you're willing to maybe, put that aside a little bit. And I think the content we had was excellent. Once I got it out of my head that the technical problems were not going to be, resolved, and let's just go.
And one thing is, we built up some cred in that you did 250 episodes that sounded good, and then you did a shit one because of no fault of your own.
Right.
So it's not like your first episode was shit and they're all shit. Okay, let's do this, man.
Let's do this, and
All
we
right.
can talk about it on the actual
Okay.
podcast. Thanks for you red carpet folks. Thanks for sticking around. Appreciate it.
Let me count you down, buddy. This is exciting to have you here. Okay, 5, 4, 3.
The following podcast is sponsored by Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in beautiful Burlington. It's public golf at its finest. Nestled under the Niagara Escarpment, Crosswinds offers not only great golf, but stunning views of Rattlesnake Point and Mount Nemo. And when it comes to customer service, nobody does it better than Crosswinds. Nobody does it better. They'll do anything, well, almost anything, to ensure that you have an enjoyable round of golf. And next year, they're going to be open, God willing, for weddings and banquets and tournaments and all that great stuff. But hold on. Wait a second, Hebsy. Golf season's not over yet. Still lots to be played. I'll be there on Sunday. Go to crosswindsgolf.com. Book your tee time online now. And don't forget to tell them Hebsy sent you. Now, Mike, can we start the podcast? Live from Toronto, it's Hebsy on Sports, episode number 255. Hi there, sports fans. Mark Hebscher here alongside Toronto Mike in the subterranean studio in New Toronto. Great to be here, and we've got our fingers crossed that there will be no technical issues today. Editorial issues? Oh, yeah. Lots of them, but no technical issues. Today on the show, how did you enjoy the first sports equinox of 2021? You know, that was yesterday, huh? You know that?
I did not remember to know that.
Well, now you know. It's supposed to be the most jam-packed time of the year for sports fans like you and me. We got the Dodgers surviving in the MLB postseason. We got the National Hockey League, the National Basketball Association, the National Football League, and the Professional Golfers Association. Some sparse attendance figures in pro sports, some sports media talk. Did you hear about the attempted coup and the ouster of Edward? Yeah, the biggest booting of a Rogers since Fred Astaire told Ginger to take a hike. It's all coming up on the show, but first, great to be in familiar surroundings. Mike, I love what you've done with the studio here. It's beautiful.
I'm going to say this. This is the first time you've been down here since March 2020.
Wow.
That's like when you find out, oh, this is the first Raptor home game in 600 days.
Yeah,
it's like, wow, really? It's true. Hebsy, glad to have you here. We did a couple of backyard episodes.
It's not the same. Backyard was nice, but it's not the same being in the studio.
Sure, I actually feel I feel it's better out there, but today it's cold, and I'm happy that we're down here, and we're both fully vaxxed. That's why I checked your your code. What's that called? A
QR code, yeah.
I checked it at the door, and then I made you show another piece of ID to make sure the names matched, and then I let you in. I'm glad to see you. Welcome.
Yeah. I didn't like the full body cavity test. I didn't think that was necessary.
Standard? Isn't that standard?
Well, I don't know if it is. I guess it is here.
It is at TMDS.
Did Leo Routens have to go through that?
Yeah, it took me a little
and
longer.
And Ruskowski have to go through that?
Well, no comment. Careful. How old do you think Ann Ruskowski is?
I have no idea.
Okay, so
I would never. First of all, I would never guess on a woman's age ever.
But just take what you think
48.
it is and reduce 6.
She's 48.
That's a good answer.
She's
You're 20 years off.
She's younger than me. Is she younger than me?
No.
She's not younger than me?
She's older than you.
Ann Ruskowski's older than me?
You look great, too.
I do. Thank you. So here's the deal. So today...
Yeah, we're going to guess people's ages.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
That would be fun,
Hazel May, go.
Hazel May?
Oh, wait, no. Hazel McCallion, go.
100.
Correct. but she looks great. She doesn't look a day over 90.
Stop that. So here's the deal. So now I'm normally I would be talking to you from the home studio, which I've been doing since March. Did you say March of 2020?
Yeah, March 2020. March 13th. It was a Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and so like I roll out of bed like 6:30 or so. I make myself a cup of espresso. I check all the different feeds. I've got time. I'm sitting there, in my bathrobe basically for the first while working on the show.
You should do the show in that. Go ahead.
And I was don't kid yourself. I was thinking of doing it. I don't know if anyone's ever done an entire show
I think
in
Hugh
a bathrobe,
Hefner,
except for Hugh Hefner on Playboy After Dark. You interrupted me.
Sorry.
And a lot of the Sopranos episodes, they're just walking around in robes. Tony Soprano's got a robe on.
Right.
But anyway, so normally, or at least for the last, since March of 2020, it's been fairly simple. The kitchen's 10 feet away. The bathroom's right there. I set up my little set, and then I contact Mike, and then he sets up, the technical, thing with a couple
I do
of
things.
feeds.
I press buttons.
And then he says, all right, we're ready to go. And boom, magic. I don't have to worry about anything. But lately, there's been an issue with my laptop.
Right.
And it's just driving me nuts. It happened last time we did the show. We had to do an emergency, try to get some audio from through the phone. And then it happened again the other day when I was on the Humble and Fred show.
Right. Your mic simply is not working with that laptop.
Nothing's working. When you plug in, when I put the plug into the laptop, it stops everything else that's on the computer. So if let's say I'm listening to a YouTube video,
right?
As soon as I put the headset in, it stops the video. So it's just going nuts. And my girlfriend is a tech whiz.
Okay.
She's a whiz. And as you know, tech whizzes cannot sleep unless they've resolved the technical
They
problems.
got to troubleshoot it. Yeah.
Yeah. If they can't do it, they can't just go, I'll figure it out tomorrow. They've got to figure it out.
Sure.
And anyway, between the two of us, she did all the work. I mean, and she still couldn't figure it out.
At some point you have to establish that possibly your laptop is not functioning properly.
New. It's almost brand new. It's like a year old. But anyway, but she wants to figure out before, you call HP and say, we've got the problem. And you'll never get through to them anyway. You have to ship it off. It's like, let's troubleshoot.
Sure.
Okay, it's not the microphone. It's not this. It's not that. Right. And I'm saying to her, it's the actual headphone jack. It's not working because as soon as you plug it in, it just disables everything else.
That is the most annoying thing too.
Terrible.
And like you said, you've plugged that microphone into something else and it functioned properly. So it's only
you and
that
I did
particular.
We did a test this week that worked fine. The test
was that a
great.
Different laptop?
No, same laptop.
Okay, and it worked.
It worked, but I'm not sure it would work in this case here because you would have to have
annoying. But you know what? Anyway. This is all my diabolical plan to get you back into the studio. And I think the beneficiaries of this mastermind plan of mine is that the listenership get to hear you live in the studio and you sound better than ever.
Well, you make it seem as if those shows that I've been doing from home were crap. Were just horrible and you could barely hear me. And it's not true. But this is quality. And in actual fact, prior to the pandemic, this is the way things were. And then suddenly everything was on Zoom.
Right.
And now everything's on Zoom.
Yeah, and things are coming back though.
No. The idea of meeting in person is it's just not going to happen the way it did before. Why do we have to get all these 6 people together when you can be on Zoom? You can be. So we're used to that. So I'm thinking that,
especially with gas prices as they are, people want to do it on Zoom.
Yeah, I noticed that thing yesterday that online people are chirping away about. You said that there was a rumor that I was coming into the studio. A rumor? Like, first of all, I can't believe you even used the word rumor because you're giving the audience the idea that maybe Hebsy and Mike deal in rumors, and we don't deal in rumors.
I saw that tweet.
We deal in fact. Buck Martinez is not fully vaccinated and does not plan on being fully vaccinated. That is not a rumor. That's a fact.
Correct.
So there was not a rumor. It was a fact. And you should have said, I know for a fact
because it's not as funny.
Hebsy's coming in. What do you mean it's not as funny?
It's funnier if I tweet, rumor has it, Hebsy's going to be live in the studio tomorrow. That's funnier than me tweeting, Hebsy's live in the studio tomorrow. Like, you need to add some levity to people's days. It's very tough out there, and we need to. I thought it was funny. I did see the tweet.
You thought it was funny.
Yeah,
you're not a comedian. Your show is not based on humor at all. No offense.
I like to think I can be funny.
You can be funny, but that to me wasn't funny. When you say it's a rumor, people are going, a rumor?
It was funny to me.
Well, okay. It wasn't funny to me. I thought it would. And if that's the reason for your tweet is to be funny and to be cute like that, well, maybe you got the wrong reason. Having good information in the tweet is always good. It wasn't a rumor. You have people all excited going, I wonder if Hebsy's going to be in Mike's studio. Or I wonder if
that was the idea. It's spicy.
But I think it would be better if you said, I have it confirmed. Hebsy will be in the studio. It's going to be the best show we've ever done. The quality is going to be outstanding.
Well,
you see what I'm saying?
But they'll tune in.
You just wanted to be fun.
They'll tune in regardless, right? Like, so let's make it funny.
All right, everyone, put your hands up if you weren't.
Rumor has it. Gene Velitis has a question about where you look in the studio.
Fucking Gene, every single fucking week, this guy, he wants to have his own show.
Because he knows you're.
Have you had him on the show?
Yeah.
You should have him on again.
He showed up at Palma's Kitchen for that TMLX5.
You should have him on the show.
But I had him on the show. Yes.
You should have him on the show. He's
been on also with Jesse. We did a Jesse and Gene reunion before they had a podcast. They came on this show. This was fantastic. Okay.
What's Gene's question?
Okay, so he says the sound is perfect today, but now instead of looking into the camera like a veteran TV guy, Hebsy is talking to the wall in Mike's basement. So
because this is a podcast, Gene, you are fortunate enough that you can eavesdrop. You can be a voyeur, but we want you to listen. Go in the other room and listen. Don't be looking at the screen. What's Hebsy doing? Looking over there. You should be looking over here. It's the audio content you want on the podcast.
Right. This is an audio presentation.
And Gene's just trying to bust my balls anyway.
That's what he does. Gordon Enright says, we all knew Mike was trying to be cute. So I think people like the rumor tweet. And he also wants to know, are you going to talk CFL today?
No.
Gordon Enright I think, and he wrote just CFL, but I'm going to read it between the lines that he's noticed a lack of CFL talk on Hebsy on Sports.
lack?
So why is that?
Because I don't like the CFL. How's that?
But you like the NFL, so you like football.
I do like football.
But you don't.
But you have to understand another thing about the CFL. When I was growing up, I was the biggest Argo fan in the world. I loved the Canadian Football League. I could have named every player on every roster of the CFL. Back in those days, players would stay for a number of years with the same team. Did you know that? Did you know that? Did you know that if you stayed a certain number of years, you were from the United States, you could be considered a non-import. You could be considered a Canadian if you spent, I think it was 5 years with the same team. So George Reed, who came up from the States to play for Saskatchewan, once he was there for 5 years, they said, oh, no, he's no longer an import because he made his home in Regina,
right,
and he was part of a community, and he was like a Canadian. And nowadays, it just seems to me that, like, you know, guys spend like 1 year, then they go back to the NFL or they switch teams. And so to build a base of a team so that the fans can go, oh, there's so-and-so. I know those guys.
Right.
They're the same guys as last year, same guys as the year before. There's just too much player movement. And I've been saying for years, the reason I can't follow the CFL anymore is things change. As soon as the NFL training camps start cutting players, these guys end up coming up to the CFL. And I always thought that, listen, once you've got your training camp roster set, you can't be adding people because they got cut by the NFL. It's just not fair, and it's not good for the fans. And that's why 6,000 people show up for football games in the CFL here in the East.
Oh, that's kind of sad, though.
It is sad. That's why I don't talk about it, okay?
Okay, but you just did. Now, I think that
satisfies
satisfies
because I'm being nice to Gordon.
It satisfies the CFL requirement we have here.
Gordon and
Canadian content.
3 other people are interested in the CFL. All right, let's get into the real sports, shall we?
And by real sports, you mean MLB?
I mean the Big Four. The Big Four. You know what the Big Four
are? Yeah, of course I do. I'm a sports fan.
What are they? What are the Big Four?
All right. Major League Baseball.
1.
NFL.
2.
NHL. NBA.
There you go. You could add Major League Soccer, but not yet because it's not. Because
what about NASCAR?
Well, no, and you can, PGA golf, tennis, stuff like that. But I mean, I'm talking the 4 major leagues.
Of course.
So Major League Baseball at this time of the year, it's October, baby. It's the championship series and it's the World Series. This happens every year at this time. It just so happens at this time of the year that there's other sports that are NHL is just beginning, NBA is just beginning.
Right.
NFL, you're into week 7 or whatever it is, and the baseball postseason, the culmination of 162 games of a regular season. And the more I watch the baseball postseason, the more convinced I am that the Blue Jays could and would beat any of the remaining teams. And they maybe even good enough to sweep them. I'm serious. I'm watching these games and I'm going, oh, fuck, the Jays could beat them. Oh, fuck, the Jays could beat them. How could they not get into the playoffs? How could they miss? I know they won 91 games.
They didn't get to the Dome till August.
It doesn't matter. Can you imagine if we had the Jays? They'd run the table against these yutzes out there. Dodgers and Braves, Houston and Boston. Ugh. It would have been a perfect storm. But no, they didn't make the playoffs. I don't see any clear-cut favorite, especially after the Dodgers thumped the Braves 11-2 last night at Chavez Ravine.
Right.
The Braves had a chance to go to the World Series for the first time in 20 years. All right? Elimination game. And what do? They lay an egg. And they send everybody back to Georgia for Game 6 tomorrow. Now, I should remind you that the Braves blew a 3-1 series lead last year to the Dodgers. But this time it's going to be a little more difficult for LA because they got to win twice on the road with a depleted roster. Because Justin Turner's out now. Andy Burns, a former Blue Jay farmhand for like 7 years, has replaced him on the Dodgers roster. Last night, a record was set as a player hit 3 home runs in an elimination game. It had never been done in the history of Major League Baseball, a guy hitting 3 homers in an elimination game. Chris Taylor was the man. Now, years from now, when people go, who was the first guy to hit 3 homers in an elimination game? Chris Taylor likely won't come to mind.
Everyone's going to think it was Reggie Jackson.
Or Babe Ruth or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Reggie Jackson was in Game 6. It wasn't an elimination game.
Right.
Very, very good. So here's what happened. So Chris Taylor hits 3 home runs. A.J. Pollock hits 2 home runs. And even forgotten veteran Albert Pujols, who's going to the Hall of Fame, contributed to the massacre as Joe Kelly was the opener for the Dodgers. So he's the opener. He doesn't last 2/3 of an inning. He gives up a couple runs in the first. And then manager Dave Roberts of the Dodgers brings in 6 different relievers the rest of the way, and the Braves are done.
Right.
They knocked starter Max Fried out of the box in the 5th and delighted the crowd of 51,000 plus at Chavez Ravine in what might be their final game of the year at home. Dodgers going back to, they got Max Scherzer pitching tomorrow night in the Game 6, the elimination game in Atlanta. Braves leading 3-2. Max Scherzer, by the way, is a free agent after this year. If you're the Blue Jays and you don't want to sign Robbie Ray, let's say, or whatever, do you go after Max Scherzer? Think about this rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Max Scherzer, okay? You could afford him. I'm not sure you could afford him and Marcus Semien. I mean, you might be able to if you could re-sign Semien and you don't re-sign Robbie Ray. Man, Scherzer, boy, he would look good in a Blue Jay uniform, wouldn't he?
Oh, of course. Couple of quick things. One is I'm rooting for just Game 7s all over the place because I love Game 7s, and of course. Now, one other thing, then John L. actually brings this up on your YouTube channel, and those listening to the podcast should be reminded that every Friday at 9:20 a.m., this recording is broadcast live on Hebsy's YouTube channel, so if you're around, you can check that out. But John L. points out something that's been bugging me because I love playoff baseball, but these games are taking too long.
Oh, they always do.
I know they always do, but like
nothing you can do
in
about
that game yesterday, I think it was the 3 homers you mentioned. I think it was 3:33 was the length of that game.
Correct.
Like, there were threes all over the place. But
do you expect any baseball game to be under 3 hours nowadays? I don't. Certainly in the
no, and we don't expect it. I just think
so. The game
need to figure this out.
The game starts at after 8 o'clock. There's no way you're getting to bed before 11:30.
Right, and guys like me, my eyes get heavy.
Well, you're old. You're old, and you're not used to watching this much sports. I do it for a living.
That's true. I don't watch
do it for a living.
I don't.
You got little kids and everything like that. See, me, I can do whatever the hell I want.
Right. Good points.
All right, so it's going to be Atlanta against the Dodgers. The last 2 games in Atlanta, and the Braves are going to try, obviously, in Game 6 to end it all and go to the World Series. The American League Championship Series. This has been tough to watch.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons. First of all, I despise Houston, but I hate the Red Sox more. I've hated the Red Sox for many more years than I've hated Houston. I've only hated Houston for a few years.
Agreed.
Astros are looking to wrap things up in Game 6 tonight. The Stros clobbered the Red Sox in Games 4 and 5 at Fenway. They won 9-2 in Game 4 and 9-1 in Game 5. So the Boston pitching staff's in trouble. Tonight, Nathan Eovaldi goes for the Red Sox. Luis Garcia gets the ball for Houston. And the Astros looking awfully good right now. As the Red Sox bats have gone cold, the Astros are hitting their stride. And remember, this is a World Series championship team. And even though they cheated and they don't have George Springer anymore, they got a hell of a squad. Hell of a squad. Astros and Braves in the World Series. What do you think? Would you be interested in that?
Here's my problem with the Braves. I like the Braves enough, except that tomahawk chop and all this indigenous
I know,
imagery.
but don't blame the team for that. You can't blame the team for that.
Well, I don't blame the
It's
players.
not like the players are going out there doing the tomahawk chopping, right?
No, but it's just unfortunate.
Come on, get over it.
Well, it's easy
get over it. I mean, just get over it, okay? Because it's not going to stop. They're not going to go, oh, geez, Toronto Mike doesn't want us to do the tomahawk chop.
I'm saying, I think where I'm going with this is I'd rather see just let the Dodgers win again is what I'm saying. Like I'll let the Dodgers win and then we'll go from there and try it again next year.
You know what that is? Eh?
Did you just do the tomahawk chop in the TMDS studio?
That's the Seminole War chant. It comes from the Florida State Seminoles, the Seminole tribe of Florida, and that is their war chant. That's the war chant, and it's not acceptable in this day and age, but it has been for many, many, many years in certain parts of the country, and people bring
but the
it back. Confederate
flag used to fly at Leonard Skinner concerts.
That's right. Not
that long.
Not just Leonard Skinner concerts, buddy. Are you kidding me?
Fine, I just picked them.
Black Oak, Arkansas, Allman Brothers Band, Molly Hatchet. Are you kidding me, man?
Right. And suddenly they don't fly.
No, it's not
those
suddenly. It's just that people were some people are made aware, and it takes people to go, wait a minute, I'm offended by that. And you should be too.
Actually, on that note, there's an interesting little news story about a Mississauga minor league hockey team that still uses the Chicago Blackhawks logo. Yeah. And there's some talk about whether they should be permitted to do that because they're not allowed to use like indigenous nicknames, but the logo apparently fell under some loophole or something. Anyway, I was just reading about that this morning, and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, I think I mentioned on the last podcast there was some politician in the States who was railing against, the nicknames of certain sports teams from schools and that type of thing. And then they found out that this woman went to a school, was a cheerleader when she at a school that's like the Fighting Mohawks, and the logo was a headdress, an Indian headdress and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I grew up with the big high school basketball team in my neighborhood was the Runnymede Redmen.
Yeah, the Redmen.
And now they're not the Redmen, and that's a decision they made a while ago now. Yeah. But it's time to change these things. So Atlanta could do that as well.
I think one of the first schools to change it, the Stanford University in California, were originally known, I think, as the Brown Indians.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but way back, and maybe in
Sure.
the 70s, and maybe in the 70s they changed it to the Cardinal because the Brown Indians, like, what the frick is that? I don't know. Anyway, it's believed that the Toronto Blue Jays will be very active in the pursuit of free agents this year, but of course, the number one priority is signing Marcus Semien, who has said all along he would like to return to Toronto or play for a West Coast team next year, but he considers himself a shortstop. And I don't think the Jays are going to move Bo Bichette to accommodate Marcus Semien. Wouldn't it be weird if they re-signed Marcus Semien and now he's the shortstop? And maybe Bo, they said, you know what, Bo, you could play third base. You got a strong arm. And usually a corner infielder is a power hitting position.
Sure.
So you put Semien back at short where he wants to play, sign him to a 4-year deal. And second base, I mean, you can get a second baseman. Biggio could play second. Somebody could play second base. I'm not that worried about it. But I think that if you can re-sign Semien, you got yourself a heck of a batting order next year. You got a very powerful team. And if you can...
you see the player on my shirt? Okay.
What am I looking at your shirt for?
You're looking at Kawhi Leonard here.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
What does this have to do with anything,
everything.
Kawhi Leonard?
The Semien situation to me is very eerily similar. It feels very similar to the Kawhi Leonard situation, where he's either going to re-up with Toronto or he's heading west. And I would put my money on Marcus doing what Kawhi did.
Heading west? Interesting. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then the Jays will have even more money to spend in free agency. Apparently, $180 million payroll for the team this year. But here's the thing. I don't know what's going on up in the boardroom there. And that this could be a major change because of the relationship that former Rogers chairman Edward Rogers had with Mark Shapiro.
Mm-hmm.
If you recall, a few years ago, Edward Rogers picked up the phone and tried to call Jerry Reinsdorf, who was the owner of the White Sox, in order to get him to allow the Jays to talk with his general manager, Kenny Williams. The only problem is that, you see, Rogers didn't do his due diligence, and he didn't think, geez, I wonder if Paul Beeston, who was the president of the Jays at the time, I wonder if Paul Beeston and Jerry Reinsdorf are friends. He didn't take that into consideration. So when he called Jerry Reinsdorf, like as soon as the call was over, Reinsdorf called Beeston and says, do you know that Edward Rogers is trying to, have you ousted there and he wants Kenny Williams or like shit like that.
Right.
It was just like it was terrible. And then the relationship between those two, Rogers and Shapiro, is such that I think Shapiro was allowed to do certain things because Edward Rogers gave him the go ahead. And now if he's not part, like, I don't know if you heard what happened, folks, but Rogers was replaced. He tried to oust the CEO of Rogers, Joe Natale, last week. And the Rogers board, which included Edward's mother and sisters, voted against him and in favor of Natale. So the story goes like this.
Yeah.
Joe Natale, the CEO, found out that Edward wanted to have him replaced because another executive, accidentally bum-dialed him. The CFO bum-dialed him.
Right.
And so he listens to this conversation between the CFO and another guy saying, what are we going to do about Edward Rogers? Or what are we going to do about Natale? We're going to have him strung up. What are we going to do? We're going to tie some bricks to him and send him to the bottom of Lake Ontario. So he's listening. Imagine he's listening to this. He's listening to these two guys discussing a coup against him after he was butt dialed.
That's now, like a scene out of Succession.
This is a telecom giant. How could these yutzes not know about things like butt dialing and stuff like that? That's just...
I would argue, and I don't know the man, never met him.
God.
I know he spent some time at Mar-a-Lago, but I know this gentleman, Edward, this is the son of Ted, right? So,
correct.
So the son of Ted, I don't believe he has the savvy, the political savvy to maneuver all these moves. We've just discussed a few moves he's made where, who does the ousting of the CEO without ensuring that they have support on the board first.
I don't know. I'm
not a C-level exec. By the way, that's actually, while we're talking about the Indigenous logo and the Braves chant and all these things that probably should hit the road, that whole term, by the way, CFO, at some point needs to be replaced. CEO, CFO. This is a whole different podcast. But the chief in there is probably not appropriate anymore either. I know. I'm just telling you, this is something.
No. Hang on a second.
In 10 years, nobody will have the title CEO and CFO.
Hang on a second. The word chief in that regard doesn't have anything to do with it.
Where do you think that comes from?
Where do I think what comes from?
The word chief.
Well, what do you mean?
What's the I'm not here to tell you.
Use it to me. Use it in a sentence for me. Go ahead. Right? The chief reason we have blah, blah, blah. Right. The number one reason, the chief reason.
Hebsy, listen, in 10
Which
years,
came first, the chicken or the egg?
Clip.
The chief or the chief?
In 10 years, you'll find that the CFO position at Rogers is not referred to as the CFO anymore.
What was it?
In 10
Let me
years.
ask you a question.
Maybe less.
What was it referred to before they came up with CEO? What was it? What
Big
was
boss? Big boss.
No.
Man.
What was the official title?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Okay.
Okay.
I haven't.
And I don't either. And in 100 years, you're right. They'll change it to something.
No,
else.
in less than 100 years.
If
but
you say so.
I think at some point, CFO, CEO, all those terms in these big companies like Rogers will be modified, so the C is gone.
Yeah, you're right. Listen, look, if they can change the words of the national anthem, they can change just about anything.
They still got to get God out of there. That's a whole. And this is a different. But when you're in person, I get fired up. But the God's got to get out. Got to be removed from the national anthem next.
Huh?
Yeah, the word God should be removed from the Canadian national anthem.
Is the Canadian national anthem the only national anthem in the world that uses the word God?
I'm sure not. I'm talking about ours though. Oh,
Right.
Canada at some point needs to drop the G word.
See, I know people that would like the word Canada to be dropped. Oh God, our home. No. Okay, let's move on here. Okay, bum dialed. You find out that you're going to be replaced because somebody bum dialed. That's hysterical, Rogers.
Yeah,
and I'm sure the folks at Sportsnet are going, "Oh, this is great news! Great news! Edward Rogers has been replaced as the chairman. Beautiful. You better hope that the new chairman, when I forget his name, is a big baseball fan.
How can you forget his name? It's our first prime minister. Speaking of canceled, John A. MacDonald.
Okay, fine. Hockey
He's back
now,
from the dead.
Maple Leafs. By the way, Rogers own a portion of the Maple Leafs. Yes, they do. MLSE,
Yeah.
right? They got a little
37.5%.
Yeah. So the Leafs have a big weekend coming up with back-to-back tilts starting tonight at 6:00 at SBA. Puck drop 6
Why is that?
o'clock.
Why is that?
What the fuck did I get here before you? How should I know?
Because it's Hebsy.
Why? Why is it 6, not 7? I don't know.
Well, there might be a reason for that.
There might be a reason. It's at 6:00. It's an hour early. Don't know.
Okay.
Maybe they want to get out of town early, right? So they can go to Pittsburgh because they got a game Saturday in Pittsburgh. I don't know. 6 o'clock.
Well, I do expect you to know these things.
Downtown traffic's bad enough as it is. It's 6:00 start. Come on, Marge. We're leaving Unionville at 4.
Right.
We'll be there for 6.
We'll be there for the second period.
Yeah, that's right. So Michael Hutchinson gets the call between the pipes tonight at the Scotiabank Arena at 6:00 against San Jose. Michael Hutchinson, did he beat out David Ayres for the backup job? How does that work?
Backup.
Michael Hutchinson. All right, Hutch gets the call tonight. That means tomorrow night in Pittsburgh, it's going to be Jack Campbell between the pipes for the Maple Leafs as the Leafs take on Pittsburgh. Leafs off to a slow start in the division, but you know what? I don't think anybody expected the Florida Panthers at 4-0-0 to be this good, and the Buffalo Butter Knives 3-0-0. Like if I was to say to you after the first week or so, you know what? Florida and Buffalo will both be unbeaten and untied. You'd say, no way. But it's true. But if I also mentioned to you that the Montreal Canadiens are 0-5 to start the season and dead last in the division, would you believe me?
And that also ties a record for a Stanley Cup finalist has never started a season 0-5.
Big deal. And you know what's going to happen is if they go 0-6, it's going to be a Stanley Cup champion has never begun the season at 0. And if they start 1-9, it's going to be a defending Stanley Cup finalist that has never started the following season 1-9. The stats geeks are out in full force. I'll tell you this right now. The Leafs had better be careful or it's going to be a long season chasing the leaders. Now, I don't consider Buffalo to be a threat, but the Panthers are for real. The Lightning are for real. The Bruins are for real.
Always.
The Leafs had better be for real.
The Matthews did miss the first few games this season. Not that that's an excuse, but it's as Mike Wilner would tell you on game 120, he'd tell you it's early.
You know what? I stopped following Mike Wilner.
Oh, why?
Yeah, I can't because he tweets way too much and he just engages with people who do not deserve to be engaged with. You know, when you're engaging on Twitter with someone that has 0 followers, right? Come on.
You know who else does this? Damian Cox.
Oh, yeah.
Has morphed into a, I'd say, Marty York light.
Whoa.
Light, I said.
Whoa. Marty York light.
In that there's sort of this, hatred for all things MLSE that sort of permeates all of his tweets.
Marty York was a piece of work, man. Did you ever hear the story of how he got they caught him in the Blue Jay clubhouse bathroom.
I have, but do you want
Did
to
I
share
tell
it
you that?
again,
I think
sorry?
I told you that story.
Yeah, I've heard this story, but I would love. You want to do it real quick here, because
well, what happened was he had managed to, after a Blue Jays game, I guess he went down prior to the end of the game and made his way into the Blue Jay clubhouse. There were a couple of entrances you could get in there,
right?
And he went into the clubhouse. He went into the bathroom. And he went into one of the stalls, closed the door, and then sort of, I guess, put his feet up so that no one would stood on the toilet seat. And then just, I guess he had his tape recorder going or whatever, and he just listened to all the conversations that were going on after the game.
Right.
And then managed to, I guess, when the players left or whatever, snuck out of there. And then the next day in the paper, he's, there's stuff that's like, holy shit, where'd he get this stuff from?
Literally.
And the players were like, who the hell was in the bathroom that told him this? Like, the players thought that there was another player on the team, and there was one player on that team, and I can't mention the name, who was thought to be a rat.
Right.
Like, the mole. The pipeline. Yeah, the mole.
Right.
Rat. They thought that there was a particular player, and I won't mention who it was because it wasn't this guy, but they all thought that this one guy,
right,
and they were going to string him up and stick a light bulb up his ass. Oh yeah. Right. And then someone, I think it might have been a clubhouse attendant or something like that, said, no, I think I might have seen Marty York going through
oh my God.
in the clubhouse. And everyone was like, wait, we didn't see him in the clubhouse. This is the story that I got from someone very close to it, was that he had hidden in there and had written the stuff down and was trying to tear the team apart.
That's like Jay Leno trying to get the Tonight Show.
Oh, that was a great scene, right? Where he goes and listens on the phone to the whole thing like that.
Well, he's hiding in, I think, in like the closet or something, listening into the.
Yeah, he's in a room.
Wall.
He's in like a very small room in the back there, and he's listening to the conversation.
It's easier to just get.
And then he calls the guy the next day. He's sitting on the can.
Right.
And he's basically repeating everything that was said the night before. The guy's looking around going, how did you know this stuff?
The rat. That's wild.
I know. So that's the Marty York thing there. And that's just, you don't do stuff like that.
He's not well respected amongst the sports journalists that I talk to.
No, because what happens is after a while, when those
didn't he plagiarize a bunch of stuff?
Yes. When those things happen, what happens is people look and they're very wary of the media. Wait a minute. You're a sports writer? Right. That sports writer from the Globe, Marty York, and the Globe and Mail too, of all places. That sports writer, Marty York, he did this, he did that. Are you that type of a guy? So naturally, I'm suspicious of any sports writer now because that sports writer printed a bunch of stuff there that he shouldn't have. All that jazz. Anyway.
Right.
So Damian Cox, he's like that too, yeah.
He's gay. Oh, yeah, because the fact is, if you don't follow Marty York on Twitter, and you should not actually, if the Jays went 162-0 next season, okay, Marty York would tweet, overrated bunch of clowns. The Red Sox are better. Like, regardless of any facts.
I know. You're right. It's a hatred for the team.
Well, his hatred is for Rogers, and I think Damian's is more for MLSE.
Interesting. So it's not hatred for a team. It's not hoping the Leafs lose or the Blue Jays lose or the Raptors lose.
He loves the Argos, for example, but it's the Blue Jays particularly because he has a hate on for Rogers. Because
it's a hard on. The word is hard on, isn't it? When you've got a hard on for someone, you hate them.
Well, you can have a hate on as well.
But you know what I mean? And when someone says, he's got a hard on for that guy, it doesn't mean he wants to screw him.
Oh, I think a hard on means you love him.
No, see, I disagree. I think if you got a hard on for somebody, that means you want to do it to them. You want to stick it to them in a bad way.
Right.
That's the way I've heard it. So,
that's almost as inappropriate as
like
the light bulb up the ass.
Yes, it's like you've got the red ass. Somebody's got the red ass. It's the same.
Did you used to play red ass in the schoolyard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we also had an alternative name for it when I guess we weren't trying to swear in our Catholic school, that we called it butts up.
Like, oh my God! I know. Did you guys do the war? Back in those days?
No, because in 1992 we all got traumatized.
See, I think the Catholic schools could get away with stuff like that. Right? So it's okay. It's a Catholic school. It's shit like that.
Listen, I've disowned.
I drive by St. Michael's School like almost every day. I ride by on my bike, and every time I can't help but look over there, going, "What went on there?"
Right.
Oh my God.
We'll ask Leo Roudens about that.
No. NBA now. Speaking of Leo and the league he used to play in. And by the way, yesterday there was a thing, before I go on, it was Bodog had said, name the first NBA player you got an autograph from. And I immediately went to my Julius Erving autograph, which I'm very proud of, that I got in 1982.
Wow.
And then posted and it's a beautiful autograph, Dr. J. Julius Erving with his number and the whole thing. Very cool. So
amazing.
Yeah. I've been an NBA fan for many, many years. Anyway, the Raptors home opener was a real, the game, they played like shit.
Yes.
And it led many to jump off the bandwagon after the first half, including the TSN broadcast crew. Now this is the broadcast crew. So it's Kate Burness, Sam Mitchell, Leo Routens. They're all sitting there.
Right.
And at the very beginning, it's like, we miss you, Rod. It's a tribute to Rod Black, who did it for 37 years or whatever it was.
Well,
right?
Since 95.
Yeah, since the beginning. So, and there's we miss you, Rod, and we're going to, carry on in your tradition. And it was really nice. But then after the first half, Here's Kate Burness going, well, you know, I don't think we should overreact, but we're overreacting. So she's sort of apologizing for overreacting, but what else can we talk about?
Right.
So it was almost like, well, geez, Sam, can we come? Is there anything good? It's the first half of the first game. You don't have Siakam. You got a bunch of guys who don't even know each other's names.
Sure.
Hey, 45, pass it over here.
Right.
They're all getting to know each other, right? And so here's Kate Burness basically saying, well, it's hard not to overreact, but we're going to overreact. No, don't overreact. It's the first half of the first game.
And in that case,
come up with some positives.
Wilner would be correct. It is early.
Oh, my God. And I'm going to tell you, the best performance of the night was Cardinal Offishall.
Oh, yes.
Fucking fantastic. I don't know what that was, that rap. He must have written that, right? But it was so good.
Yes.
It was so good. And then everything went downhill from there.
Cardi needs some more respect as the linchpin between Maestro Fresh West and Drake.
I agree.
Cardi's the linchpin.
And here's a funny thing is a friend of, I think a mutual friend of Mo Berg from Pursuit of Happiness, he tweets out, I mean, right after it, I said, what a great performance. And so Mo tweets out what a great performance it was, but he tags the wrong Cardinal Offishall.
Right.
He just, I guess, you know, you look to say,
you type in the first few characters,
and then you pop it up.
Right.
So I'm going, that's not, because I know I follow Card, right? So I'm like, wait a minute, that's not his Twitter handle. We got to fix that right away. So I'm tweeting back at Mo saying, you got the wrong card. Anyway, that was great.
I love you standing up there to get the right thing. And I love
I want to see him do every show. I want him to open every, I think every Raptors home game, he should be there doing that rap. That was fantastic. Forget about the national anthem.
Hebsy, quick comment from the YouTube channel, because I love watching the real-time reaction, is that it's funny. You're here in person, first time since March 13th, 2020, and we must be working blue, because the comment that came in from Russ Patterson here is too much talk of cocks and hard-ons.
Too much?
Because
I got one here that says not enough talk about cocks and hard-ons. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so the Raps got beat by the Wizards the other night. The crowd only got into it late in the fourth when the Raptors cut like a 30-point deficit to 15 points.
Right.
And I remember going, oh my God, they're within 15. And I'm saying to myself, it's only a 5-possession game with like 4 minutes to go. And anyway, I mean, you had to have something to cheer about. But I have to tell you, I was offered tickets to the game.
Oh.
I was offered tickets the day before.
And you didn't go.
Right? And I'm like, how much? How much are they? I'm thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. So it would have cost me $450.
Okay, do you think that
for 2 tickets,
so
right?
You weren't offered tickets. To me, when you say I was offered tickets, I think somebody's giving you tickets.
No, nobody gives tickets away. Who gives away tickets?
I get tickets.
You get corporate tickets?
Well, not
a friend of yours who spent the $500 says, "Here, you take these."
You'd be surprised, Hebsy. But
I guess I am surprised. Wow, you got some friends. You got some real friends.
I personally would not cough up anything close to that amount
How
of money.
How much would you cough up for a pair of tickets
for the opening game?
Any game. Any doesn't matter. Opening game. Who gives a shit about the opener?
Well, because a playoff game is different than the opening game.
Any regular season game. What would you fork over for a couple of Raptors tickets? Tell me honestly.
It would shock you how low this number is. I'm almost embarrassed to tell you.
Don't be.
For 2 tickets to see a Raptor game, I'm not going north of $100. So is the Sprite Zone still there?
No, you're not going to get anything for that.
What about Sprite Zone? Is
I
still
don't
the
even
Sprite
know.
Zone? I'll go in the 500. What do they have? 300. Sorry.
Anyway, listen, it wasn't a sellout, and it's got to do with ticket prices, okay, which are outrageous to begin with. Okay, so like for me, and these were decent seats, not great seats, okay seats, $450, no chance. Just not going to do it. I usually go once a year and pay, somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple $100 a seat for a good game, and I take my son for his birthday every year.
Nice.
And that's it, man. Unless, and if someone's willing to give me tickets, it's lovely, or take me along, that's lovely. And if that's the case, I will reciprocate. Like, I have one friend of mine, and I've gone to a couple games with him, his seats. He says, come be my guest. I'm like, man, I'm not spending $300. He says, don't worry about it. He says, everyone's on me. Yeah. And then what'll happen is I'll take him golfing, or I'll take him to a Jays game, or
you buy him $100 beer.
Or no, but I'm just saying though that, this guy's got a lot of dough. So it's not a case of, making sure that that it's exact. It's the thought that counts. So it's like, to him, a round of golf with Hebsy is worth way more than sitting next to him, at a Raptors game, or going to a Jays game, or whatever the case is. So, that's why it's not a sellout. There's a number of reasons. A midweek game to go, you're leaving Uxbridge at 5:00 to get down there. Nah. So, and the other thing is, going downtown nowadays isn't like it was prior to the pandemic. Not all the restaurants are open at full capacity. They're having problems finding servers.
That is true. But the first thing is fixing on Monday. I believe they're going to open it up for capacity.
That's right. So, Not a sellout. The Leafs home opener wasn't a sellout either. I guess fans are taking a wait-and-see attitude, but the prices are outrageous. And there's a lot of people out there that are not making the money they were making pre-pandemic. They've had to really think about their finances, and you just don't have the dough to go to a Raptors game. And I think there's a lot of corporations that are like that as well. They took a hit, and suddenly it's like, we've got these Raptors season tickets that are costing us a fortune. I don't know if we're going to renew this year. Maybe we'll take a flex back. I don't know.
But I would imagine there's a lineup of people willing to take those season's tickets off.
Not the really expensive. I don't think so. See, I think most of the
Leafs
fans
for
can
sure.
afford. I think a lot of fans can afford a few times a year, maybe to go and spend $100 or $200 or whatever, but not to buy season's tickets.
See, you told that story about your son's birthday, and to me, that now you've got me, because obviously, if my son's turning 20, which is happening in January, he's a big Raptors fan, and I will spread my cheeks, as Freddie P would say, and I will spend hundreds of dollars for this night. This is for my son's birthday. That's a whole different story.
That's a different story.
If you take away the birthday for a child or whatever, I personally, I'd rather watch it on TV, to be quite honest. And I actually bike downtown. Like, I don't have this traffic issue. I bike there. That's not a problem.
I walk.
But I simply don't think it's worth the money to spend hundreds of dollars to see a regular season basketball game.
You know why? The experience on television is a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
You've got to admit that watching on TV, I mean, you don't miss a thing.
No.
You get the full entertainment value. You're 5 feet from your bathroom, your kitchen, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about all the other stuff. And there's something about the TV experience nowadays that's way better than it was even a decade ago. It's just so much more interesting on television. There's so much more to see. When you're at the game, you're used to, where's the replay and what?
And that was a dog with fleas, that game. Like, you know, I mean, no, and
terrible.
again, and I don't know, have we done the Raptor dog? No, because I will tell you, like, I'm actually, like, not so secretly hoping we get another lottery pick. Like, I want another lottery pick, because we're not going to win a title anyways. I told this to Leo Redmond yesterday. We're not winning a title this year anyways. Let's get
you've already jumped off the bandwagon?
I'm on the bandwagon rooting for the team to be competitive, sort of like those young Jays teams and the young Leafs teams we just went through. Right. This is a rebuilding year. We gotta, you know, we need some more pieces here, and another lottery pick, another Scotty Barnes type lottery pick there would be fantastic for this franchise, and I'd be fine with that. I don't need to make the playoffs this year and go out in the first round.
You're going to make the playoffs. They will make the playoffs this year, I think. I don't think the East is that strong. I think there's other teams that are way worse. And I think the Raptors will get better. And I think you've got to expect a big breakout year from Siakam. I think he's just going to be a dominant player.
Well, here's hoping. But another lottery pick might be better long-term for this particular team of ours.
That wouldn't hurt. The Raptors are in Boston tonight. Then they return home for a rare Saturday night game against the Dallas Mavericks. Basketball night in Canada. Woo. Hello, everyone. Jim Houston coming out of retirement here with Matt Devlin, Jack Armstrong,
if someone's coming out of retirement,
Eric Smith, Paul Jones, Sherman Hamilton.
Right.
Who am I missing? Kate Burness. Who does it for Sportsnet? Who's doing the on-court? Kayla Gray was on the Raptor game the other day, too. So they had like the full complement.
So they didn't need Rod Black anymore.
Well, no, it's not that they didn't need him. They had lots out there, lots. And then, of course, when we watched the Sportsnet game, and I don't know, Sportsnet, no, I guess Sportsnet wouldn't be doing the Saturday game. They would be doing hockey.
Well, they take turns.
No, they would be doing hockey, though.
But don't they take turns?
But wouldn't they be doing the Leaf game Saturday night against Pittsburgh?
Both.
But wouldn't they do the Saturday night hockey night in Canada Leaf game, which they're obligated to do?
Yeah,
on
but
Rogers?
they have a Sportsnet 1. Like, they just put it on Sportsnet 1.
If it's the Raptor game,
right.
Sportsnet 1, as opposed to TSN, we don't know.
So I think Rogers and TSN take turns or whatever.
Well, I don't know if it's back.
But that'll be interesting, right? Because Alvin Williams is the new analyst.
He's horrible.
And
he's horrible.
As we know, Leo is been ousted by Sportsnet. So
he's horrible. Matt Devlin has to make Williams look good, because he's no Leo Routens. Far from it. Far from it. Lots of tickets available, by the way, for that Raptor game tomorrow night.
What's the most you'd pay? You didn't buy these tickets, but if for your son's birthday, I guess you have a whole different budget than you would for just going to
$5,000.
No, you know how I don't know. That's not.
No,
true.
You know what? Funny thing is, I don't really have a budget. It's sort of like, if I see good seats and like, you know what? Yeah, let's go for those. That's because this is his birthday. So another $20 or $40 or whatever, not going to make a huge difference. But yeah, generally speaking, I would say somewhere south of $300 for the two would be. Yeah. Okay. Would I go as high as $400 for the two seats if they're good seats?
Let me ask follow-up question. So you take
but
the
then
TDC
I wouldn't
there.
Eat. But then I wouldn't eat. I was
going to ask you about
that.
I
won't eat at the games.
Will you eat or drink at the game?
No chance, man. I'll have a hot dog on the cart outside.
You smuggle in like a bag of chips under your jacket.
Well, it's not smuggling. You are allowed to bring. You know what? By the way, and this is a misnomer from movie theaters, from sporting events, that you're not allowed to bring in outside food. What bullshit is that?
See, in the theater,
who told you that story? You could bring in your own food. They can't. No one can kick you out if you paid for a ticket. if you brought in your own food and your own smoke.
Even a theater? Because I thought I am under the misconception that at a movie theater I have to sneak in my food. Like I literally hide it in my pocket.
No, you labor under the misconception that it's against the rules.
Okay,
to pay for a ticket and bring in outside food.
Can I bring?
Now, if you go to Crosswinds to play golf, you can bring outside food. Just you can't bring alcohol. That's a different story.
That's a licensing
because they have
issue.
A licensing issue. Exactly right.
Different.
But yeah, I don't know who came up with the idea. We can't take your food in there. You got to smuggle it in under your coat.
Can I bring my Mr. Popcorn hot popcorn maker and plug it into the outlet that's in the theater and pop my own popcorn there?
I believe you can. I think you should try it and let me know. All right. So we're talking about the amount of money that these athletes are making. And of course, it's reflected in the ticket prices. Yeah. So the NBA, the average, this was from the 2019-2020 season. The average NBA player makes $8.32 million. $8.32 million average player.
Not bad.
Major League Baseball, a little over $4 million. English Premier League, close to $4 million, $3.97 million. The NFL, the average salary, $3.26 million. In the NHL, the average salary is $2.5 million. So why, if the average salary in the NHL is $2.5 million, are Leaf tickets as expensive as Raptor tickets?
Supply and demand.
Okay, and also there's more players, and there's more players on the roster. And you're right, way more people.
Well, what are Sabres tickets? Right?
I don't know.
$30.
They might be. And what about Ottawa Senators tickets?
I saw this.
We're going to give them away 2 for 1.
So what are there? I guess you don't have this number offhand, but
8,000 the other day.
What?
It was 8,000.
What's that about?
Well, 2 things. First of all, the arena sucks. It's way out in the west.
Yeah.
It's way the fuck out. It's in Canada. So if you live in downtown Ottawa or Gloucester or any of those, eastern suburbs or whatever, it's going to take
or whatever.
It's going to take you. It's going to take you forever.
Yeah, it sucks.
And who the hell on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night is going to go all the way across the 417?
So you can't bike to that one.
All the way across there, and see, in Canada, it's not like there's all kinds of great restaurants and bars and stuff like that, like in downtown Toronto. It's out in Hoppinsville, man. It's Nowheresville. It's closer to Carleton Place than it is to downtown Ottawa.
Say that word again.
I know. I know the story. I know the story.
I give you full credit though, because Wiseblood heard you say it.
I don't want full credit. It's not my dad.
Ben Murgy got a
credit.
podcast with the Canadian Jewish News.
My dad should get full credit for that.
Okay, well, he inspired a Ben Murgy podcast title.
Right. Anyway, so that's the thing. The other thing is when they built that arena, which was originally called the Palladium, I think, or the Corel Center, whatever the fuck it was.
It was at Corel Center.
Okay, so they built, it's like 19,500. Now, that's fine for Toronto, fine for Montreal, but Ottawa should have been 16,000, maybe 17 tops. And that's why there was always 2,000 or more empty seats at that arena.
Right.
So the combination of the fact that it's out in the middle of nowhere, it's not near the downtown core, you'd have to drive all the way out there, and the fact that tickets aren't cheap, and the fact that it's just too big an arena. It's way too big an arena.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that location issue. I think if you put a nice arena in downtown Ottawa, like we're in the Glebe or something, it'd be a big hit. You know who's getting fucked over here? The NFL players, because how can an average NFL salary be, and it's not even guaranteed, of course, $3.2 million, and the NHL be $2.5 million? Go compare the revenues generated by each league. But
hang on.
Yeah.
The NFL, that's $3.26 million per player. Each team has a 40-man roster. 40.
But
40
look at that
roster.
TV deal versus
40-man roster. Now, disproportionate, the quarterback is going to be making way more than that.
Sure.
So even the grunt linemen or whatever that are making $1 million, or I don't know what the rookie salary is. You're talking $3.26 million average, and that's 40 guys on the roster, right? So that's $120 million per team in salaries.
Literally pocket change for these
pocket
NFL
change
owners.
for these NFL owners, because they got money in the bank before they sell one ticket.
Big money.
Huge, massive money. And that's why that's why
fucked.
everybody wants to be an NFL owner. That's also why, and I can't think of which team it was. Somebody set a record. They spent $450 million for a franchise. They bought a franchise that's now worth like $4 billion.
Not shocked at all. And what remind me?
So 10 years ago, to spend $400 million for a franchise,
right?
It was an NBA franchise. You're out of your mind.
Well, remember,
$400 million. You're out of your mind. It's worth $4 billion now.
Remember, the Clippers just sold for what was it?
Steve Ballmer, $2.5 billion or something like that.
And it's one of those things. Remember, and this is a silly analogy, but it works. But when Google bought YouTube, the price they paid, people couldn't believe they'd pay that amount. It turns out it was a steal.
A steal.
Right.
An absolute steal. So if you were one of those guys who are like, oh, we're not going to spend this much for a pro sports team. And now you look at the value of that pro sports team. It's outrageous. outrageous. They're making money hand over
They're
fist,
printing money.
and they're not passing the savings along to the consumer. It's outrageous. If you were to go and say, what's it going to cost? Like, I remember the last time I went to a Leaf game, and that was 2 tickets.
Mhm.
I think we had sushi or a pizza. We had some food,
Yeah.
A drink,
Yeah.
paid for a babysitter, parking, a whole thing like that. It was like $700 and some odd.
Rich
And I
man's
remember
game.
saying to my wife at the time, saying, we could have gone away to the Bahamas for a weekend. Like 700 and some odd, and they lost 2-0.
Right.
To the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. 2-0. They had 16 shots on goal. And I'm sitting there going, all right, the sushi wasn't that good. The pizza wasn't that good. The beer was way overpriced. The game sucks. Right now I got to drive all the way home and get out of the parking lot and all that shit. We ended up leaving midway through the third period so we could avoid the traffic, because I knew had we stayed to the end of the game and they would have lost, that drive, just getting out of the parking lot, I would have rammed into somebody. I just was so angry.
That's called voluntary taxation.
Pissed my money away. Pissed it away.
Yeah.
One thing you won't do, you won't be pissing your money away if you visit Crosswinds Golf and Country Club, as I will be doing this weekend, on Sunday, as a matter of fact. Looks like the nicest day of the weekend. Going to be like 12 degrees, maybe a little bit windy, perfect fall golf weather, and a chance for you to go to Crosswinds and check out the beautiful facilities. The course is in gorgeous shape, and fall golf at its best. Beautiful views of Rattlesnake Point, Mount Nemo, under the Niagara Escarpment. It's just lovely. Championship golf course, par 72. Always in great shape. The people there are fabulous. Go to crosswindsgolf.com and book your tee time online now and tell them Hebsy sent you. Now, in professional golf, the Zoso Championship. This is the one that Tiger Woods won a couple years ago, and everyone went, wow, he's back. It's Tiger.
Right.
The local favorite is defending Masters champion Hideki Matsuyama. He leads at 8 under par after 2 rounds. Why after 2 rounds? Because Japan is 16 hours ahead of us. It's already tomorrow there, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Soon.
Well, the Olympics, we learned.
It's
Saturday.
It's
like 12, 13
Saturday.
hours.
Anyway,
right.
yeah. So he's the leader at 8 under after 2 rounds. Top Canadian Mackenzie Hughes tied for 14th. Golf season, it's funny. Golf season really never ends for the professionals. Like, they take like maybe a week or 2 off, if that. But there's always a tournament. Somewhere in the world, there's always golf being played. Yeah. That's what I love about it. And that's why when I retire, it's going to be nothing but golf, baby. The NFL Thursday Nighter features...
Wait, you're not retired?
Well, if I'm doing this show, well, wait a second. If I'm doing
define retirement,
if I'm earning, if I'm not earning, here's retirement. Retirement is you've left the job that you had for years, right?
Right.
You are now free to do whatever the fuck you want. If you choose to take on another gig, a part-time job, or volunteer, or do a podcast once a week, that you're retired. Retired means you don't go to an everyday job.
Right. But you're a new laptop away from being able to do Hebsy on Sports from Bermuda.
That's true. That's true. I will be. As a matter of fact, in March, I'll be doing an edition from Florida, and perhaps 2, because I'm going down there. But I'll be at spring training. So we'll be live. I'll be live at the park. I'll be there.
That's amazing.
At 9:20 in the morning. You'll likely hear some, there might be some guys taking infield practice on the Bobby Maddock field. I don't know.
Just get good Wi-Fi.
But that's the other thing. I got to get good Wi-Fi. So I'll talk to Rich Griffin of the Blue Jays and make sure I get the Wi-Fi code for the Jays.
The man. Yeah.
And do it there. So that's what's going to happen there.
That's exciting.
NFL Thursday Night Football. Cleveland Browns at home to the Denver Broncos. The Brownies prevailed 17-14 thanks to third-string quarterback Case Keenum and third-string running back Ernest Johnson. You think injuries play a big role in professional sports? Oh, my God.
Yes.
Everybody. If you were to take how many guys go through an entire season, or women, without being injured? Like a noticeable injury where they miss a game or they miss some playing time.
I don't know.
Not very many, man.
No, not too many.
I mean, everyone's getting hurt.
Sure.
I mean, I almost got hurt here just coming down to the studio.
Remember, we changed.
My head.
You did. We changed the way we treat injuries, in that we used to, a lot more in the olden days, playing through injuries, where now you're more cautious with your approach. So if there's a bit of a sprain or a strain or whatever, you will take some time to rehab it before you go out there.
You're talking about the individual athlete thinks that way?
Like, I think
but
if
then
you go back 30 years, you
but
might have played with something that you wouldn't play with today.
But all you need is a guy like a George Springer to say, no, I'm fine. Right. And then the manager to go, okay, George knows what he's talking about, even though he's obviously in pain.
But I think the buck
and he's
stops with the medical
obviously in
guys.
discomfort.
Right.
Yeah, but the medical, he's saying to the medical guy, look, I can play. And the medical guys are going, George, your knee's killing you. And he's going, I'm still okay on half a knee. And so he convinces the medical staff to give him a green light or whatever. Said, if he can walk up to the plate, if he can walk up there, drag his leg up there like Kirk Gibson did,
of course.
Then put him in. And I thought that affected the team negatively.
Right.
And I thought that other players, for example,
Mhm.
suffering from the same injury might take the advice of the medical staff or management to go, you know what, I'm going to rest it here.
It's funny
But
because
Springer, $150 million free agent, already missed 80 games or whatever. He's not going to do that.
it all comes back to Kawhi, because before Kawhi Leonard, you and I never used the expression load management. Never.
Ever.
And now it not only is it a term that is commonly used, but it makes a great deal of sense now when you look at the big picture.
Well, the original load management was this. In baseball, if you were playing a day game after a night game,
right,
load management would say that the guys who've been playing every inning of every game,
right,
if they played the night before,
right,
you give them the day off, always with the catchers. If you caught the night before,
right,
let the second string catcher, the other catcher, catch the next day, a day game, and
right,
sit some of your regulars, but have them available late in the game for pinch hitting.
Right.
Give them a bit of a blow. They did that with Vladdy Guerrero. I was upset at first, but then I realized, Vladdy needs maybe more rest than other guys. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe he needs more rest. And so there were times where they took him right out of the lineup. There were times where they just said, okay, you're going to DH. And then there were times where it's like, we don't even want you to DH. Now that, I couldn't understand that. As tired as you might be, and get that bat in the lineup, to have him on the bench. Can you imagine Vladdy going, okay, Vladdy, we need you to pinch hit in the ninth inning. So even though he was tired, I felt that they should have left his bat in the lineup. I don't think that fatigue had as much to do with his ability to hit 4 times a game, but certainly playing first base might have been. But anyway, what was I talking about? The NFL?
TV ratings.
Oh, hang on. I haven't finished with the NFL. Yeah, Denver losing. They're 3-4. The Browns are 4-3. Okay. That's the NFL for you. We're not talking about the CFL.
And he clarified his
We won't
remarks.
be talking about the CFL.
Gord is not necessarily wanting CFL talk. It turns out he was just noticing that you literally named like every league except the CFL.
That's right.
In your intro.
If I get tickets to an Argo game, do you want to go?
Yeah, but you're not paying, because I can get you free tickets to Argos, no problem, right? Because I can go to Mike Hogan and get us like we can get clubhouse seats, VIP treatment if you want to see an Argos game.
Do it. Just don't tell Hogan it's me.
Oh, you guys have a thing? Because it's funny. There's a thing with Fred Patterson.
I used to be the play-by-play broadcaster for the Argos.
Okay, I'm listening. This is quite the story. Yeah.
I used to be the play-by-play broadcaster for the Argos. It was on a different station. It was on 640, AM
Yes.
640. And, there were certain hosts on the Fan that didn't think I was doing a very good job and said so. And,
I got the same story from Freddie P.
Wasn't doing the job. And so on the air, I'm listening to the Fan and I'm hearing them diss me on the air for not doing a good job as play-by-play.
Was Gallagher a part of this?
Yes,
I remember the story now.
John Gallagher.
But he owns that,
He certainly was.
He owns that.
Anyway.
Oh, but I got to say really quickly is,
sure.
I produce Humble and Fred's podcast.
I knew that.
I put people in the calendar. I put a lot of Hebsy in there because he's fantastic. People should listen to Hebsy on that show. Now, I also, one day I decided, let's put Mike Hogan on and talk. And then I got a note to unbook Mike Hogan, because Fred Patterson was listening to the same thing, similar story, listened, and I guess there was some, negative words said that he has never forgotten. So it's very interesting. You never know who's, not cozy with whom.
Well, listen, I mean, you had a guest here very recently who does not get along with me because I had said things about that person on television, blaming that person for certain things.
And I've never told this story.
And, okay, that's fine. I mean, I get that, because if you're going to say those types of things, you better be prepared for the recriminations. That's fine. So on this particular podcast, as you know, I have praised people, and I have also taken shots at people in the business, for example, and named names, feeling that they could have done a better job, or a particular broadcast could have gone better had they not said this or said that, or been informed. I think mostly it's been informed.
Right.
I don't think it's so much what they said. It's that they didn't have the knowledge. So when they said something, it hadn't been researched properly. That I don't like. I don't like someone who's supposedly an authority saying something and you're going, wait a minute, that's wrong.
Right.
You have your facts wrong. That's it.
Right. And you don't like it when some of ththese European tennis players' names are mispronounced by these professional announcers.
Well, listen, I mean, Gaël Monfils has been playing tennis, at the highest level for over a decade. If you don't know how to pronounce Gaël Monfils, and you pronounce it Monfils or whatever.
Monfils.
Monfils.
Without the S.
Yeah, Monfils.
Right.
all you really had to do was just do your research and,
go to YouTube.
All it took was, go to, because if you're a broadcaster, if you're a writer, you must know how to spell someone's name.
Right.
But you've got an editor. Most writers in newspapers or whatever, there's an editor that goes, wait, you misspelled that or whatever. They fact check it or you have fact checkers, but they make sure before it goes in print that it's proper. When you're a broadcaster, you're responsible for the words coming out of your mouth. So before you say something, you better be sure it's true. You should have researched it, or you should have had your producer should research it. You should know how to pronounce a name.
Right.
If you're going to say it. If you're not going to say it, say, I don't want to screw up the name. So Joey B or whatever. Come up, I couldn't say Giannis Antetokounmpo and I still have trouble with it. Right.
Right.
But I admit that.
So you call him the freak.
I don't try to go Giannis Antetokounmpo and pretend that that's his real name.
Right.
I'm not like fucking Charles Barkley.
Well, that's actually a
Charles
Don Cherry
Barkley
move.
going Jonas Valanciunas.
That was a Don Cherry move forever, was to basically intentionally butcher the name, particularly when it was a French name like Monfils. He would anglicize it intentionally just to be that guy.
Yeah. But Monfils doesn't anglicize it. It could be Monfils.
He would probably go Monfils.
Monfils.
Patrick Waugh was the one I always remember.
Patty Roy.
Right.
But no, the original,
which is offensive.
The original was Punch Imlach. Punch Imlach intentionally called Frank Mahovlich Frank Maholovich. He did it on Hockey Night in Canada. He did it a lot, and Frank Mahovlich eventually had a nervous breakdown, from stress and anxiety because of Punch Imlach. Right? Can you imagine the guy, a 48 goal scorer, a 5-time All-Star, Stanley Cup champion, and you're calling him Maholovich? We think that Maholovich is a little too sensitive to play this game. Can you fucking imagine? And none of the sports writers went to Maholovich to say, hey, Punch has been calling you this. They only wrote down what Punch told them because that's what they did in those days.
Right.
They didn't go to the player for a reaction. Punch said this about you. Can I have a comment? No.
Right.
Anyway.
Hey, really quickly, I got to slip it in now before I forget. You tweeted something last week with regards to, I think, with Bodog, and I think the question was something like, who's the greatest Raptor ever? And your answer on Twitter was Vince Carter.
By a narrow margin over Kyle Lowry, yeah.
But can you just really, really briefly, what does greatest mean? Does that mean the best player ever to play, best player as a Raptor?
You tell me.
Okay, because there's 3 ways to think of this.
No, there isn't. There's one way to think about it. Who's the greatest player to wear a Raptor uniform?
But
so in that Raptor uniform.
Right.
All right.
Does longevity matter?
No, listen, it's not Hakeem Olajuwon.
Okay, because that's
great for Houston.
Right. That's the greatest player who yes, you're right.
No. Listen, anytime you see that, don't overthink
that's
it.
Bullshit. Yeah.
Don't overthink it.
Right.
Okay.
He sucked.
And the picture that went with it, I don't know. Was it misleading?
Well, the reason I wore this shirt today is I just want to ask you. Vince had a great career here, but you have gone on the record on this program, Mr. Hebsy, on Hebsy on Sports. You've said many times, championships are what matter. I've heard you say this. Championships are what matter. Vince has none.
For a team.
But not for a player.
Not necessarily. Let me ask you a question. Was Karl Malone a fantastic player?
Yeah.
Would he have been known as a greater player had he won an NBA championship?
Probably.
By how much, though?
Okay.
So, you're going to go, Karl Malone, if only he'd have won a championship, he'd be way up here.
Clyde Drexler. Did he ever win with the Rockets? Actually, I can't. No. Anyway, maybe it's a bad example. Okay, I'm going to ask you about Kawhi Leonard really quickly here. So in your opinion, and you watch a lot more sports than I do. You're an encyclopedia. Ask Jake Gold. You know everything. But in your opinion, Vince Carter was a greater Raptor than Kawhi Leonard. Yeah.
Vince Carter did more for basketball in this country, was more influential than any other player, certainly when it comes to Canadian basketball and the Toronto Raptors. Vince Carter,
without a doubt.
Vince Carter brought the Toronto Raptors to national attention and did things as a basketball player in a Raptors uniform that no other player did. Did he win a championship? No, he did not. But was he the greatest Raptor to wear that uniform over the period of time that he was with the Raptors? Yes, he was.
See, that's why I wanted you to describe the word greatest, because it can mean a few different things.
No, not to me. It's pretty simple to me. And you're the one that's trying to make it complicated. You mean the greatest to ever wear for one season?
No. I
get it. Was Roberto Alomar one of the greatest Blue Jays to ever play the game?
Of course.
Yes, he was. He played 5.5 seasons in Toronto. I think 5 seasons. That's enough. If he played, was Roger Clemens the greatest Blue Jay pitcher of all time?
Yeah. I would say
2 for 2, 2 Cy Youngs.
Hey, wasn't it 2 Triple Crown or whatever?
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
But no, the answer is no. Of course he wasn't. Dave Stieb and Roy Halladay are way ahead of him because they played more years.
So longevity matters.
Well, with that team for sure.
Okay. And
I mean, look, you could say Roger Clemens was one of the great Boston Red Sox pitchers. He never won a World Series with the Red Sox, but boy, was he awesome with the Red Sox.
So final question on this thought, because there was a conversation that it sparked. Your
Yes.
tweet sparked a conversation. And I now have changed my mind on this since I first thought of it a couple of days ago. But Kyle Lowry, is he a Hall of Famer?
No.
See, I was with you. I never felt like Kyle Lowry was a Hall of Famer, but I don't think I'll name him because it was a private conversation. But someone who covers the Raptors has convinced me through analytics, et cetera, that Kyle Lowry is a Hall of Famer.
He's convinced you through analytics?
Yeah. Like essentially, like
Kyle Lowry doesn't get into the Hall of Fame.
So that was so
one NBA championship and some very good seasons as an All-Star.
Right.
Does not make him a Hall of Fame.
See, I never felt like I was watching a Hall of Famer with Kyle Lowry, but again, so that was my instinct, was to say Kyle Lowry's not a Hall of Famer.
What about Kawhi Leonard?
Yeah, I think for sure. Right?
That's a good question, isn't it? How about Vince?
Yeah, slam dunk, because T-Mac is in the Hall of Fame.
So now you're making these comparisons.
But that's how I got convinced, because somebody started doing the comparisons, and then I actually, when you look at the analytics and the comparisons, you realize Kyle Lowry is a Hall of Famer.
Right. See, here's the thing: you can look at the analytics any way you want to. You can, you can slant them towards that's Hall of Fame stuff,
sure,
and that's a very common thing to do now. But you're right, Mike. Sometimes you got to look at the player and go, "That's a Hall of Famer," just by looking at the player and thinking of that player's body of work and going, "That there's a Hall of Famer right there." But now you look at a player and say, even if he wasn't a great player, but he was a very good player, but he won a few championships. Now you go, well, he did win a few championships. So does he go in the Hall of Fame? Like, is Robert Horry a Hall of Famer? No, but he won like 6 NBA titles
with 3 different teams.
3 different teams.
Right.
But is he a Hall of Famer? The 6 and by the same token, almost every guy who played in the 6-team NHL, right, is like a Hall of Famer.
Right.
I mean, all you had to do was win a couple of cups, and even if you didn't, right? I mean, just about every guy on those Leaf teams, was ended up being a Hall of Famer.
You're going to love this comment from Gene before we get to these TV ratings. He says, today's episode has been Hebsy, the Harlem Globetrotters, taking on Mike, the Washington General.
You're Red Clots.
And on that note, let me delete this file.
I'm Meadowlark Lemon, and you're Red Clots.
Delete.
All right, TV ratings. This is big stuff for a lot of people. This is, this is the barometer, like how many people are watching on television. And what I found out just this week alone, 3 people that I know have cut the cords to their cable. Now, these are not kids. These are not 20-somethings or 30-somethings. These are people my age that are sick and tired of spending $200 a month or whatever it is.
I'm right there.
And now they got theirs. I got my Disney Plus. I got my TSN. I got my Sportsnet.
Netflix.
I got my Netflix. I got my, I'm good. I don't need to see, I don't need to watch the local news on CFTO.
Right.
Because I won't get it. I'm not going to be able to get it.
Right.
Right. And I don't need to see the local programming from these stations, but I do want to watch my sports and my news and my Netflix and all these great shows coming out on Disney Plus, like the Beatles. Like, I can hardly wait for this Beatles, McCartney 3-2-1. All this stuff. I can't get any of these. Ted Lasso. I can't get any of these shows on cable on my cable system. I can't. I'd have to pay separate for them or have to get another channel. So I'm seriously considering this. So TV ratings, when it comes to live sports, it's a different story because but if it was only 607,000 on TSN, which is down 20%. How many people were streaming it? How many people, or you know what I mean?
You talking about pirate streams or legal streams?
I don't know, Mike. I don't know. All I know is their home opener drew 607,000 on TSN. Those are TV numbers. Those aren't streaming numbers as far as I know, because it's just the television numbers, right? Sure. On TSN.
Right.
And so that's down 20%. So a lot of people are like, oh, what's wrong? How come people aren't watching? And I'm thinking, really, a home opener basketball game? Just, I don't know, like... Is it supposed to be?
It might have something to do with
October.
the fact
Is it that big a deal? Folks, we got to get home to watch the Raptors home opener. Right. No. Billy's got the hockey practice or Janie's got tap. No. Raptors home opener.
Well, what is the star power on this current Raptor team? Like, who are the names that draw you in, right? With Kyle Lowry gone, because it's let's go see Fred.
You labor under the misconception that I went to watch Kyle Lowry play. I didn't.
No, I mean the average Joe. You're a super fan. I'm talking about the average Joe.
I want to see Pascal and I want to see OG.
Right.
And I want to see this. I want to see Scotty Barnes. And I want to see DeLon 45 from the 45 Kipling bus.
Right. No, yeah. Right.
And not DeLon.
Okay, so two things here. One is that the fact is lots of people do have legal, I got to say it properly, legal streams of the Raptor game is commonplace, and that needs to be incorporated into these numbers because a lot of people don't watch on traditional television. They actually will stream it through
That's what I mean.
TSN or whatever. But I will point out to you, because you mentioned Ted Lasso, and I know lots of people, I won't name any names, a lot of people watched all the Ted Lasso and never subscribed to Apple TV, and a lot of people
How
are
did they get it? Tell me about this. I want to see Ted Lasso.
There's a certain bay out there. Pirates know about it, and they press a button and it's on the computer.
I'm dying to watch Ted Lasso, but it's only
actually
available
effortless.
on Apple TV, and
it's effortless if you really want to do it. Now, the other thing about the streaming though is it's effortless to watch the Raptor game without getting TSN and without subscribing to a legal stream. It is really simple.
Is it?
Yeah, it's very simple, and I think that's a huge thing here. People are cutting that $200 cable,
right?
And then if I want to see the game, I'll find a stream.
People are very resourceful because in the past you had no other options. There was no such thing as a stream, illegal or otherwise. You either watch the game on your television or you were at the game. There's no other way.
Right
now, anyone resourceful, anyone that's got any type of ability, searchability to find streams. I'm going to comment on.
Because Brian Gerstein, who's a super fan when it comes to Raptors, okay?
He's a super fan.
He points out that the Pirate streams are behind in delivery and quality. And I'm here to tell you, for the Brian Gersteins, they gotta again, another Freddie P. They gotta spread their cheeks and get the proper stream for the, to satisfy the quality and the delivery.
This show has so many sexual overdoses.
Because we haven't seen each other.
I've got a hard on for you while you spread your cheeks.
Again, for the average Joe who wants to check out the game, the fact that it might be 2 minutes or 30 seconds or 45 seconds behind the live television is it doesn't matter.
So what?
And I'll be honest, the Pirate streams that people have told me about are pretty damn high quality. And when you Chromecast that thing to your big screen, you probably couldn't tell the difference between that and what gets you delivered through your Rogers or Bell Fibe or whatever.
Right. I think the biggest problem I have now is trying to find out where the game is. And that's just if I'm watching television.
Yeah.
Is it TSN? Is it Sportsnet? Right. Is it Sportsnet?
Is it TSN2?
TSN, fucking TSN2.
Or what?
Let's bang another $10 a month out of these people so they have to buy TSN2 and another $10 for Sportsnet 1 and another $10 for Sportsnet 360. You motherfuckers.
Yeah, because I want to watch baseball playoffs and they stick it on the next Sportsnet, which is Sportsnet 1, because Sportsnet gets the NHL, of course. Like I need,
Or here's the best one. You're in the 9th inning of a game or something. You can watch the rest of this game on. Go over to Sportsnet 1. No, I don't have Sportsnet 1. Don't ever. Don't ever do that. Don't ever put a game on, knowing that at some point you're going to say, "We're going to go to another program while this is still going on." Like, don't, because that reminds me of the Heidi game.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the pen flip, but tell me.
No,
remind us about the Heidi game. Right.
You know the story of the Heidi game?
I do, yes.
So the game is on NBC. It's the Oakland Raiders and the New York Jets, okay? It's in Oakland, right? And the Jets are, they're huge, man. Everybody in New York's watching the game. Everybody's on NBC. But at 7 o'clock Eastern time, NBC has the show Heidi scheduled. Heidi. This is part of, I think, Walt Disney's Wide World, whatever the fuck it was. Sure. Anyway, at 7 p.m. Well, guess what? Guess what? At 3 minutes to 7, the Jets are leading by 2 touchdowns over Oakland. They've got the ball, and NBC tells its audience, we now are going to our regularly scheduled program, Heidi. And the network just cuts off the game, even though the Jets were up by, I think, 12 points or whatever it was. Cuts off the game with 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And now, Heidi. Well, guess what?
I know, yes.
The telephone calls start coming into the switchboard at NBC. It blows up the switchboard. The switchboard breaks down. People go to the NBC building at 30 Rockefeller Center and are banging on the doors. What the fuck is going on? We're just watching the Jets play. It was wild. I believe the Jets ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. I think it was in 1968. But anyway, people are going out of their minds. Okay? They don't know what's happening in the game. They don't know. Meanwhile, Oakland is scoring 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes to win the freaking game.
It isn't also that's a great example, but also the pen flip is a bit like that too, right? Where CBC said we're leaving this overtime game to go to something else, and Dave Hodge just had it with leaving these games in progress for something else. Like it wasn't a priority for.
No, there was
CBC
curling
Sports.
that was supposed to be coming on.
Well, that was earlier,
right?
but I think
early.
this was the news. I think they were going to maybe.
I think they were. I think that's right. They were supposed to be a Philadelphia game, and it was like, no, we're going to the news.
We're going to the national or whatever.
But the point is, what this Heidi thing did was, it prompted a new rule, I guess, in television, that once you had the game, you could not leave that game until its conclusion.
Right.
Even if it was a blowout.
Right.
You could not leave the game. So if somebody had a doubleheader going and game one bled into game two, and you were waiting for game two, Dallas, Chicago, you got to watch the end of the first game. Even though Washington leads Philadelphia 55-0, we're not going to break away because of what happened in the Heidi game. That was the wildest, because the Jets lost the game, but people didn't know that.
Right.
They would have to flip to the radio or something like that. They were just going out of their
But was
minds.
Heidi any good? Did you watch? Was it good?
Nah, it wasn't. But I mean, that spurted. That's what started everything. Okay, the Heidi Bowl. So once I'm watching a game, I don't want anyone to tell me, if you want to see the conclusion of this game, switch to another channel. Don't ever do that. Ever. That's it for episode number 255 of Hebsy on Sports. Hope you liked it. I did. So did Mike. And as always, thanks to Toronto Mike. His production, his inspiration is, well, inspiring.
Love it.
Check him out at torontomike.com. And always great interviews. Recently you had Leo Routens.
Leo Routens was there yesterday. Anne Muskowski the day before.
She's older than me?
Yes.
She looks great.
And before that, Ralph Ben-Murgy before that. And you might dig this. We had Ivor Hamilton on with Brother Bill and Cam Gordon and I talking about why CFNY would play this band but not that band. Like, get into that. How did CFNY choose what they played back in the Spirit of Radio days?
Any other shows you want to promote for Toronto Mike while you're here?
Oh, you opened that can of worms.
No, I'm saying anything else. Who you got coming up?
Peter Sherman is going to be here in half an hour. Or less, actually.
Excellent. Always a pleasure with Toronto Mike. Thanks also to Crosswinds Golf and Country Club. They're fabulous. Check them out. Go to crosswindsgolf.com. Book your tee time online. Still lots of fall golf to be played. And mention my name.
Yes.
Okay, couldn't hurt.
Hebsy sent you.
Thanks for allowing us into your headspace. Back with another episode next week. Until then, so long for now. This podcast has been produced by TMDS and accelerated by Roam Phone. Roam Phone brings you the most reliable virtual phone service to run your business and protect your home number from unwanted calls. Visit roamphone.ca to get started.